It is an eye-opening snapshot of the housing crisis in the South Bay. A new report found that homelessness is rising, but not necessarily in the cities that you might expect.
This isn't about camping rules. This is about survival becoming illegal. In 2026, cities, states, and insurers will change RV laws so fast that people are waking up non-compliant without moving an inch. What was legal yesterday can now get your RV ticketed, towed, or seized. These changes don't fix homelessness. They erase it by force. Across America, overnight RV parking bans quietly expanded in 2025 to 2026 through municipal code updates that received no federal headlines. Over 140 cities now explicitly prohibit sleeping in vehicles, including RVs, vans, and motorhomes. These laws are enforced through signage changes, parking ordinance updates, and public safety codes that impose fines typically ranging from $75 to $500 per night. The real damage comes from escalation. After 2 or 3 citations, vehicles can be towed at costs averaging $1,200 to $2,500, plus daily storage fees between $75 and $150. States like California, Oregon, Washington, Arizona, Colorado, and Florida expanded local authority to restrict vehicle habitation near residential zones, schools, and commercial corridors. Many cities reduced allowable parking time from 72 hours down to 24 or even 8 hours, making legal compliance nearly impossible for working RV dwellers. According to HUD estimates, more than 420,000 people now live in vehicles, with RVs making up a growing share. These bans provide no alternatives, only displacement. For seniors and laid-off workers, RVs often represent the last affordable shelter option. Median rent surpassed $1,900 per month in 2025, while campground monthly rates jumped 28 to 40% in 3 years. When free parking disappears, RV living becomes financially unsustainable overnight. These laws don't eliminate homelessness. They criminalize it, pushing people from legal survival into constant fines, police contact, and forced vehicle loss. For decades, highway rest areas served as emergency sleep zones for tired drivers and RV travelers. That safety net is disappearing. As of 2026, over 20 states now either ban overnight RV stays outright or allow enforcement at the discretion of state police. States including Texas, Georgia, Tennessee, Ohio, and Virginia tightened rest area rules under traffic safety and anti-camping provisions that sound reasonable but eliminate survival options. Most states now cap parking at 2 to 8 hours, regardless of driver fatigue. Violations result in citations between $100 and $300, and repeat enforcement may involve vehicle removal. The irony is fatal. The Federal Highway Administration has long warned that drowsy driving causes over 100,000 crashes annually, yet RV travelers are now penalized for resting. Truck stops are not a guaranteed alternative. Private truck stop chains increasingly restrict RV overnight stays or require fuel purchases that strain tight budgets. Paid RV parks now average $45 to $80 per night, pricing out working families and retirees. According to 8AA, fuel prices and campground costs combined rose over 34% since 2021, while wages did not keep pace with inflation. For full-time RV dwellers commuting to jobs, rest area bans remove the only legal free place to sleep between shifts. This change disproportionately affects nurses, construction workers, oil field employees, and seniors on fixed incomes. When legal rest becomes illegal, accidents rise, citations pile up, and RV living shifts from difficult to dangerous. Towing laws changed dramatically in 2025 to 2026, especially in urban areas where enforcement expanded beyond traditional parking violations. Cities expanded administrative tow authority, allowing RVs to be seized without criminal charges, just unpaid tickets or parking violations. Once towed, reclaiming an RV is often impossible. Average recovery costs exceed $3,000, including tow fees, impound charges, administrative fees, and accumulated fines that multiply daily. In cities like Los Angeles, Portland, San Diego, Phoenix, and Denver, unclaimed RVs can be auctioned or destroyed after 15 to 30 days. Many owners never recover personal belongings, family photographs, or essential documents. According to local audits, over 60% of towed RVs are never reclaimed, effectively erasing someone's home in a single enforcement action. New rules also reduced grace periods that once provided warning. Some jurisdictions now allow towing after one citation, compared to 3 previously. Vehicle as housing protections weakened following court rulings allowing cities to enforce bans even when shelter beds are unavailable. That legal shift changed everything. For people living paycheck to paycheck, towing is not a fine. It's total displacement. Replacing an RV costs $15,000 to $40,000, far beyond what most families can afford. Insurance rarely covers impound loss. Once the RV is gone, many fall directly into street homelessness with no path back. These laws don't solve housing shortages. They quietly eliminate visible poverty by eliminating the vehicle. RV parks are not a universal solution, and they're becoming unreachable for ordinary families. Since 2022, the number of RV parks accepting long-term stays dropped sharply, while nightly rates surged beyond what working people can afford. Industry data shows average nightly rates rose 38% nationwide, with popular states exceeding $90 per night. Monthly rates now average $900 to $1,400, excluding electricity costs that add hundreds more. Simultaneously, enforcement of the informal 10-year rule expanded across thousands of campgrounds. While not a law, it functions like one. Parks refuse entry to RVs older than 10 to 15 years, regardless of condition or maintenance. According to RVIA data, nearly 60% of RVs on the road are older than 10 years, instantly disqualified from most private campgrounds. Zoning changes also reduced park availability in areas where people need them most. Cities increasingly rezone RV parks into commercial or mixed-use developments that eliminate affordable spaces. Between 2019 and 2025, over 400 RV parks closed or converted, removing tens of thousands of spaces. No replacement infrastructure followed. For people forced into RV living by layoffs or rent hikes, campgrounds are no longer a fallback option. Wait lists stretch months. Prices exceed apartment rents in many regions. Without access to parks, RV dwellers are pushed back into cities where parking bans and towing enforcement await. This squeeze is structural, not accidental. Owning an RV is becoming more expensive due to regulatory changes implemented at the state level without federal oversight. Registration fees increased in many states, especially for heavier rigs that carry higher annual costs. California, Colorado, Washington, and Oregon implemented weight-based or emissions-linked registration hikes that target larger motorhomes. Annual registration for large motorhomes now exceeds $1,000 in some jurisdictions, compared to $300 to $500 just 3 years ago. Smog and emissions compliance is expanding into territory once exempt. While RVs were previously excluded from passenger vehicle emissions testing, states are exploring inspections tied to diesel regulations and environmental programs. Even rumors of future compliance requirements are impacting resale values. Used RV prices dropped 15 to 25% in some markets, trapping owners in depreciating assets they can't sell without substantial loss. Insurance premiums also surged dramatically. RV insurance increased 18 to 30% since 2023, driven by higher repair costs, increased theft rates, and liability risks. Some insurers now refuse coverage for full-time RV dwellers or require costly riders that add hundreds monthly. Without insurance, registration becomes impossible, creating a legal dead end. For families already stretched by layoffs and inflation, these costs stack fast. Registration, insurance, repairs, and fuel now rival traditional housing costs. What was once an affordable escape from unaffordable rent has become a regulated, expensive trap. And for many, falling out of compliance means losing everything. Emission laws aimed at commercial trucks are now spilling into the RV world with devastating consequences for owners. States following California's CARB standards, now over 17 states, are tightening diesel rules that affect motorhomes built on heavy-duty chassis. While RVs were once exempt from most regulations, enforcement gaps are closing rapidly. New registration hurdles, inspection requirements, and resale restrictions are emerging across multiple states simultaneously. The Advanced Clean Trucks regulation doesn't ban RVs directly, but it restricts manufacturers from selling gas and diesel chassis in certain states unless they meet zero-emission quotas. The result is fewer new motorhomes available, higher prices, and long wait lists that stretch months. Some dealers report 40 to 60% drops in available Class A and Super C inventory in CARB-compliant states. For used RV owners, resale is becoming a nightmare. Buyers in CARB states are increasingly unable or unwilling to register older diesel rigs due to compliance uncertainty. That drives down resale values nationwide, not just in affected states. Owners are stuck with assets they can't sell or upgrade without accepting massive losses. Compliance costs also rise steeply. Diesel repairs tied to emission systems now average $4,000 to $12,000 per failure, often totaling older RVs. For vehicles built before 2010, one check engine light can mean the end. These laws weren't written with RV dwellers in mind, but they hit them hardest. When your home is also your vehicle, emission policy becomes housing policy. Local noise and air quality ordinances expanded aggressively in 2025 to 2026, targeting one of the last survival tools for off-grid RV living. Cities and counties are banning or restricting gas and diesel generators that provide power for refrigeration, heating, and medical equipment. Many areas now enforce generator bans during nighttime hours or entirely within city limits, with fines ranging from $150 to $1,000 per violation. National parks, BLM land near urban zones, and coastal counties are tightening rules under environmental protection programs. California, Arizona, Nevada, and parts of Florida already restrict generator use based on decibel levels as low as 60 decibels, which many standard RV generators exceed. Even quiet inverter generators are not exempt in some jurisdictions. Solar power is not a universal solution despite what advocates claim. A full solar setup capable of replacing generator power costs $5,000 to $12,000, far beyond the reach of many seniors and laid-off workers living on savings or unemployment benefits. Installation requires technical knowledge most don't have. Without generators, RV dwellers lose refrigeration for food and insulin, heating during winter, and power for medical equipment like CPAP machines. For people living in RVs out of necessity, generator bans aren't about comfort or noise complaints. They're about survival. No power means no insulin refrigeration, no life-sustaining medical devices, no heating when temperatures drop below freezing. These laws assume RV living is recreational. For hundreds of thousands of Americans, it's not. It's the last line between shelter and the street. Traffic laws are increasingly written with passenger cars in mind and enforced against RVs that can't physically meet the same standards. Left lane laws expanded in states like Connecticut, Georgia, and Texas, with fines reaching $200 to $500 for slow-moving vehicles occupying passing lanes. RVs climbing grades or towing trailers are frequent targets despite having no practical alternative. Speed variance enforcement also increased across multiple states. RVs traveling too slowly relative to traffic flow, even within posted speed limits, can be cited for impeding traffic. That's a legal gray area now actively enforced by state police looking to meet citation quotas. Weight-based restrictions compound the problem significantly. Some bridges and secondary highways now prohibit vehicles over certain GVWR limits, forcing detours that add hours and fuel costs. Violations can trigger fines exceeding $1,000, plus mandatory detours. GPS systems often fail to warn RV drivers about restrictions, making accidental violations common and costly. Insurance companies track citations carefully. Multiple traffic tickets can spike RV insurance premiums by 30 to 50% or result in policy cancellation. Without insurance, registration fails. Without registration, the RV becomes illegal to occupy anywhere. A few traffic stops can start a chain reaction that ends in vehicle loss within months. These laws don't account for the physics of large vehicles. RVs cannot accelerate, brake, or maneuver like passenger cars. Yet enforcement treats them identically, turning everyday driving into a legal minefield where compliance is physically impossible. Court rulings in 2024 to 2025 reshaped how cities enforce anti-camping laws against people living in vehicles. Courts increasingly allow enforcement even when shelter beds are unavailable, removing the last legal protection for RV dwellers. That's a massive shift from previous precedent. Previously, lack of available shelter limited enforcement authority. Now, cities can ticket, tow, and arrest regardless of shelter capacity. This legal change gave cities a green light to enforce dormant laws. Vehicle habitation bans that sat unused for years are now actively enforced with aggressive ticketing campaigns. The result is rapid displacement across urban areas. Legal scholars estimate over 300 municipalities expanded enforcement powers following these court decisions. For RV dwellers, this means legality can vanish overnight without warning. A place that was tolerated yesterday becomes illegal today, with no notice period or alternative provided. Appeals are costly and slow, often taking months. Legal aid organizations are overwhelmed with cases and can't help everyone. Most people simply lose their vehicle before any appeal is heard. This isn't about illegal behavior or public safety concerns. It's about status. Living in a vehicle is increasingly treated as a violation in itself, regardless of conduct. When courts redefine survival as illegal conduct, the fallout is immediate and brutal. RVs are no longer a workaround for unaffordable housing. They're a target for enforcement sweeps designed to remove visible poverty from public view. RV insurance is undergoing a silent crackdown that's eliminating coverage options for full-time dwellers. Insurers are pulling back from full-time RV coverage, especially for older rigs and urban dwellers who represent higher risk. Premiums jumped 20 to 30% in 2 years alone. Some policies now exclude theft, towing, or habitation-related claims entirely, leaving owners exposed. Worse still, insurers share risk data across industry databases. Multiple claims, citations, or even certain ZIP codes can result in blacklisting that follows owners between companies. Once dropped by one insurer, finding replacement coverage becomes extremely difficult and expensive. Without insurance, registration lapses automatically. Without registration, the RV becomes illegal to occupy or move anywhere. Some states now require proof of continuous insurance without any gaps. A lapse, even accidental due to missed payment, can trigger fines or license suspension that compounds the problem. For people juggling bills after layoffs, one missed payment can unravel everything within weeks. Insurance used to protect RV owners from financial disaster. Now it decides who gets to stay legal and who doesn't. Legality is the thin line keeping thousands of families housed rather than on the street. When insurance companies determine that line based on profit rather than need, the housing crisis accelerates. People who bought RVs specifically to escape homelessness now face losing them because insurance became unaffordable or unavailable. The system designed to provide security has become another barrier to survival. Across the United States, age-based RV restrictions have expanded so widely that they now function like formal regulation even without legislation. While not written into state law, thousands of private and semi-private campgrounds enforce a 10 to 15-year maximum age rule for RVs. This matters enormously because industry registration data shows nearly 60% of RVs currently in use are older than 10 years. These are not neglected rigs. They are the only affordable housing option for many families. New RV prices now average $120,000 to $180,000, completely out of reach for working families. Used, older RVs typically sell for $15,000 to $35,000, making them the only entry point. When parks deny access based solely on age, owners have nowhere legal to stay. Cities then cite those same RVs for street parking violations, creating a loop where older rigs are legal to own but illegal to place anywhere. Seniors are hit hardest by these restrictions. The average Social Security benefit in 2025 is $1,907 per month, while long-term campground fees often exceed $1,200 per month, not including electricity charges. Age rules quietly remove the last affordable shelter option without passing a single housing law or public vote. What makes this devastating is enforcement consistency. Once a park rejects an RV, there is rarely another option nearby within driving distance. Owners are pushed into cities, triggering citations, towing, and eventual vehicle loss. Age rules don't clean up communities. They quietly erase housing. RV ownership used to mean freedom of movement across America. In 2026, crossing a state line can instantly put you out of compliance with conflicting regulations. Registration rules, emission standards, insurance minimums, and inspection requirements now vary so drastically that an RV legal in one state may be illegal in another without expensive modifications. States enforcing stricter emissions or residency rules increasingly flag out of state-registered RVs that remain locally for extended periods. After 30 to 90 days, some states require re-registration at full resident rates. That process can cost $1,500 to $3,000, not including repairs or upgrades needed to pass local inspection standards. Diesel RVs are especially affected by state-to-state inconsistency. A rig registered in Arizona or Nevada may face compliance barriers in California, Oregon, or Washington due to emissions rules. Owners must either move constantly to avoid residency triggers, risk expensive citations, or attempt costly re-registration they can't afford. Many can't afford any option and simply get stuck. This destroys one of the last advantages of RV living: mobility for work opportunities. People can no longer relocate for employment, family emergencies, or personal safety without risking fines or losing their vehicle entirely. For laid-off workers using RVs as transitional housing, mobility was survival. Now it's a legal trap. State-to-state inconsistency turns highways into invisible borders where legality ends without warning signs. The American road has become a patchwork of conflicting rules that make legal RV living nearly impossible. Zoning changes in 2025 to 2026 redefined RV living as a temporary use in many counties, eliminating long-term options. That shift sounds minor, but carries huge consequences for thousands of families. In dozens of states, staying in an RV on private land for more than 14 to 30 days is now illegal, even with the landowner's permission and proper sanitation. Counties justify these changes under land use planning and property value protection that sounds reasonable to homeowners. But enforcement tells the real story. Violations carry fines ranging from $500 to $1,000 per day, and landowners face penalties as well for allowing violations. As a result, many property owners refuse RV tenants entirely to avoid legal liability. This eliminates one of the last affordable options for people displaced by rent hikes and layoffs: rural or semi-rural private land stays. Between 2021 and 2025, average rent rose over 30%, while wages lagged far behind inflation. RV living filled the gap when apartments became unaffordable. Zoning laws are now closing it systematically. Once removed from rural areas by enforcement, RV dwellers are forced into cities where parking bans, towing enforcement, and vehicle habitation laws take over. This isn't accidental. It's displacement through paperwork, not bulldozers or visible action. Zoning didn't solve housing shortages or create new affordable options. It simply pushed RV residents into enforcement zones where they become someone else's problem until the vehicle is eventually towed and destroyed. Mandatory safety compliance is expanding through registration and insurance channels that enforce standards retroactively. Older RVs increasingly fail inspections due to electrical, brake, propane, or structural standards that didn't exist when they were built decades ago. Required repairs commonly cost $3,000 to $10,000, often exceeding the RV's current market value entirely. Fail inspection and registration is denied automatically. Without registration, the RV cannot legally be occupied or moved anywhere. Insurance companies use inspection failures to cancel coverage immediately, compounding the problem. Loss of insurance triggers registration suspension, creating a legal spiral. These rules assume owners can afford expensive upgrades on short notice. Many can't manage unexpected costs. According to consumer financial data, over 40% of RV owners living full-time report having less than $1,000 in emergency savings. When compliance costs exceed available income, the RV doesn't break down mechanically. It becomes illegal through paperwork. For people using RVs as housing after job loss, this is forced displacement disguised as safety regulation. No alternative shelter is provided by the jurisdictions enforcing these rules. No assistance programs exist to help with compliance costs. The RV simply disappears from legality, and families are left with nowhere to go. Safety matters for everyone. But when standards are applied without affordability considerations or assistance programs, the result isn't improved safety for RV dwellers. It's loss of housing for people who have no other options. Compliance becomes eviction through regulation. Many cities now enforce RV laws through forced movement rather than outright bans that would face legal challenges. RVs are ordered to move every 24 to 72 hours, often with no legal destination provided. This constant relocation causes mechanical wear, fuel expenses, and exhaustion that compounds over time. Fuel costs alone can exceed $300 to $500 per month for RVs forced to relocate repeatedly between zones. Breakdowns become more likely with constant use. Studies of vehicle-dwelling populations show repeated displacement increases the chance of total vehicle loss by over 50% within 1 year of enforcement. Once an RV breaks down mechanically, it becomes a stationary violation, leading to immediate towing. This isn't random enforcement. It's attrition by design. Make survival unstable long enough, and the problem removes itself without shelter alternatives. People lose jobs due to constant movement that prevents reliable work schedules. Medical appointments are missed repeatedly. Children are pulled from school. The RV doesn't fail suddenly through accident. It fails through cumulative pressure and wear. Forced relocation doesn't solve homelessness or create housing. It accelerates the path from RV living to street homelessness by destroying the last stable element, the vehicle itself. When the RV breaks down from forced movement, families lose their shelter, their transportation, their belongings, and any remaining financial stability. The enforcement strategy is designed not to help, but to make people disappear from city streets by making survival impossible until the vehicle fails completely. There is no single RV ban coming in 2026 that will make headlines. What's happening is worse than any single law. Thousands of small legal changes now stack together across jurisdictions. Parking bans, zoning rules, insurance restrictions, inspections, towing authority, and campground exclusions. Each alone seems manageable and reasonable. Together, they collapse RV living as a viable option entirely. Experts estimate 800,000 to 1 million people now rely on vehicles for shelter across America. Layoffs continue in manufacturing, retail, and service sectors. Rent remains unaffordable for working families in most cities, yet laws move in the opposite direction. RVs are harder to buy, insure, register, park, and keep legal with each passing month. What once served as a pressure valve for the housing crisis is being sealed shut through coordinated enforcement. RV living is no longer a workaround for unaffordable housing. It's a countdown to displacement. People who bought RVs to escape homelessness now face losing them to the same system that made housing unaffordable. 2026 isn't about one dramatic law ruining lives through obvious cruelty. It's about a system quietly deciding who gets to exist legally and who doesn't. It's about making survival illegal through 1,000 small cuts until people disappear from public view. The RVs won't be banned. They'll just become impossible to keep legal, forcing hundreds of thousands into street homelessness when their last shelter option is towed, sold, or abandoned after compliance becomes financially impossible. This isn't a housing crisis anymore. It's a legality crisis. If you live in an RV, know someone who does, or see this happening in your city, tell us in the comments what you're witnessing right now. And in the next video, we break down which states are enforcing these laws the hardest and where RV living is disappearing first.